Join Dr. Tates and Doc's Herbal Corner as we explore the myths and truths of the herbal kingdom.
Greetings and welcome to Doc's Herbal Corner. I am your host, Dr. Stephen Tates. Join me as we explore the science and mysteries of the herbal kingdom. You will learn about properties, functions, and physical responses plants and herbs can and will have on our body. But before we get started with our lesson plan for today, I want to test your basic knowledge on plants and herbs. So grab your pen or pencil and let's get started. Our question today is on an herb called Arnica, and it's a true or false question. Arnica can be used both internally and externally. Remember, this is a true or false question. And at the end of this segment, we will give you the answer. Our lesson plan today is on an herb called Arnica. I know many of you have never heard of Arnica before. We always hear about peppermint and ginger and garlic, but I wanted to take us off the mainstream of herbs today and deal with an herb that many of you have never heard of before. Now, Arnica, as always, we always like to examine what parts of the herb we use first. And with Arnica, the medicinal parts of the plant are the flowers and the rootstock, or the root. But as always, in order to understand what Arnica is about, we have to research the properties. When you grab an herb book and you read about a particular herb like Arnica, first thing you really want to go to is the properties. Is it an astringent, a diaphoretic, a diuretic? And then read up what those particular definitions mean, because when you do that, then you'll get a better understanding of what this herb is about. So, you have your pen or pencil ready? Because we're going to go through several properties very quickly in the time that we have. First property of Arnica is what's called a diaphoretic property. And that, in essence, means that Arnica helps promote perspiration or sweating or cleansing through the pores of the skin. Cleansing through the pores of the skin also helps in purifying the blood, because the blood is what is dumping that waste into the skin to be removed, but it has to be in a liquid form, because if it's solid waste, because you're not getting enough bowel movement, then all you're going to get is rashes and discoloration. So you want that diaphoretic properties to increase the sweating. Next, Arnica has what's called diuretic properties. So we have diaphoretic, diuretic. Diaphoretic helps with sweating. Diuretic helps in removing excess waste from the urinary tract system, helps in the expulsion of urine or liquid waste that stores in the bladder and in the kidneys. So we're throwing impurities out through the pores of the skin, and it's helping the body throw waste out through the urinary tract. Also, Arnica is good for helping soothe and soften the skin, which is what's called an emollient property, which is spelled E-M-O-L-L-I-E-N-T, which helps externally dealing with rough skin, helping to soften and smooth it. Also, Arnica is an expectorant that helps promote the discharge of mucus from the lungs. So it helps throw waste out through the lungs. So think about this. You know, it's helping in the expulsion of urine, it's helping in sweating, and it's helping to remove waste from the lungs. Basically that hard mucus that stores up in the lungs and in the sinus areas. Arnica is also a stimulant. And a stimulant basically quickens and excites what we call the physiological process. In simple terms, it excites and quickens the body's activity. So when the body's sluggish and we need to get it moving, it has that stimulant properties. Probably part of what helps with that sweating and expulsion of the urine and helping remove mucus from the lungs and sinuses is that stimulant property. It also has what we call vulvanary properties, which is spelled V-U-L-V-A-N-A-R-Y. N-E-R-A-R-Y. This has a healing application for wounds. So it cuts in wounds and you apply it externally, it helps in speeding up the healing. But here's an interesting point. You heard me talk about diuretic, helps with sweating, helps with urine, helps with moving mucus from the system, but Arnica is primarily used externally. So when we're talking about expulsion of waste through the pores of the skin or through the urinary tract or through the lungs and sinuses, we're not talking about internal application. We're actually talking external applications. And in many cases, you'll see Arnica come like this. Sometimes it's mixed in massage oil, or sometimes it's by itself, but Arnica by itself is extremely concentrated. Okay? So what you want to do is have it when it's mixed in something, or learn the right proportions, because you want it in its diluted form. Because when you apply it and you apply it on the lung area, it's going to loosen up that mucus to help throw it out. You have it down in the intestinal area, it's going to help with cleansing around the bladder or around the kidneys. It's going to help with the expulsion of urine, and on the skin, it's going to increase sweating. So it's very, very concentrated, so you want to be sure that you're using it externally. Trust me, even small amounts is extremely concentrated and will promote this kind of cleansing. So you use it in a tincture or in a salve or in an oil, as I showed you, to help promote healing. You use too much, it could cause redness and irritation and inflammation. So you're using very, very diluted solutions. Otherwise, not only the rashes, it can cause blistering. So you can mix it with honey or aloe vera gel, few drops, applying on the skin in the areas you're trying to create reactions. Because it's so concentrated, you either follow exact formulas or exact supervision with it. If you're using tincture of Arnica, you may see the classic 1 or 2 teaspoons in a cup of water. I would start off with 1/4 of a teaspoon, a cup of water, and again, you're applying it on the skin, or you're mixing it in a massage oil. This is very, very important to understand, because otherwise it will irritate. But when you use it right, it's a phenomenal healer. Cuts, wounds, blockages, inflammation, poor circulation, clogging of the lungs, little bit of Arnica is excellent. And Arnica is also good for pain, because it's reducing of inflammation and getting that blood flow going. Now that we've discussed Arnica, we want to go back to our question for today. Question for today, remember, was actually on Arnica. True or false? Arnica can be used both internally and externally. If you've been paying attention, you know you should only use it externally. So you've had external as your answer. I want to congratulate you. You were correct. Now I want to thank you for joining us at Doc's Herbal Corner. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.